What's good, everybody? You're listening to the Glow Up podcast. We are recording here in Seattle, Washington. Well, I'm in Seattle. They're a little south, Tacoma, but we are still a part of the Soundcasting Network here in Seattle. I'm Miss Casey Carter.
I'm Naomi Raven.
And I'm Maurice.
And we want to remind everybody to please rate, review, and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. And don't forget to follow us on all social media platforms at the Glow Up Cast.
Absolutely. Yeah. And also don't forget to sign up for the Glow Gang Spotlight. I know y'all have businesses, entrepreneurs, and podcasts and so forth, and we want to highlight you. So don't forget to sign up for that. Our link is in the bio on the Instagram as well as on Twitter as well. There's also a video of me highlighting on how to sign up for the Glow Gang Spotlight. So look out for that on Instagram as well. We would love to promote you. So sign up for that and glow up.
Yes. Our email list, you sign up for that too, so you can stay updated with us and all the fun things that we have to offer you.
Yes, and turn your audio podcast experience into a visual one. Tap in with us on YouTube at the Glow Up Cast so that you can watch our interviews.
Yes. All right. Well, shout out to us. This is the last episode for podcast month, and we're going to teach you all about operations. But last week we talked about the interviewing process and we talked about it from both perspectives. So make sure to give that episode a listen. I think it's great for everyone because eventually, like, you're either going to be interviewed or become an interviewer, right, or both. And we just offer a lot of really great tips in that through our experiences from the show, from past things and that kind of stuff. So check that out. And then the one before that, we just talked about the very beginning of stages of starting a podcast. We know everyone wants to start a podcast. There's literally no limit to what you could talk about in your podcast. Like, everyone can literally have a podcast. So we just want to help you glow up with that. So make sure to check out all those past episodes. Let's get into our weekly wins or lessons. I'll start. Y'all know I've been on this Jay Shetty podcast, and one of the lessons that really stuck out to me this week was emotional agility. And I think that this is something we all need to work on. And it's great because I think that when we're going through hard experiences, we're always looking for someone to comfort us, or we're trying to shy away from that hard emotion. Instead of going through it, we're always like, be positive, stay positive. I gotta fix myself, instead of going through that whole emotion and then bouncing back from that. So you're not going to be able, it's like exercise. You're not going to be able to exercise that, the bounce back, if you don't go through it, if you're always running away from it. And she talked about it with coddling people, coddling your children. Like, you know, those people who don't let their, like, they coddle them too much and everything's okay and be positive. Like, then they're going to grow up and they're not going to know how to deal with hard situations.
Right.
So I really love that. I think that it goes along with, you know, trusting the process, enjoying your journey, and understanding where you are where you are, you know, for a reason. So I really, really enjoyed that lesson. So work on your emotional agility. Don't run from those hard emotions, those hard conversations, whatever it is. And you will come out a lot stronger and be able to deal with harder situations as they come to you.
Absolutely.
Check out that Jay Shetty podcast. We gonna get him on the show one day.
Come on, speak it.
Yes. Naomi, what is your weekly winner lesson?
Yeah, I think my lesson kind of feeds off of yours, because I think growing up, like, I've always just tried to choose the positive mindset, even when things upset me. And so this week, it's okay to be angry. You just have to take time to get through that anger and then forgive. Don't dwell in it. And that was just something good for me to remember, because trying so hard to remain positive all the time when really you're frustrated and pissed off, it's draining. So go through that emotion, like you said.
I love that.
Yes.
Mo, what is your weekly winner lesson?
Yeah, mine's basically, you know, it's okay to fall, but just don't stay there.
I love that.
Yeah, so it was kind of a lesson of mine that I had to deal with when it came to you know, certain situations that pulled up in my life, like, you know, depression, things like that. But, you know, I told myself I just could never stay there. And I still apply that lesson till this day. Like, I may not get the opportunity to do certain things or excuse me, or I might get a couple L's when it comes to like the photography thing and so forth. And that's fine, but you just can't stay there and be depressed about that you didn't get that opportunity. There's plenty more opportunities and other things to focus on instead of just being down on the certain things that you were going through. So it's okay to fall. It's okay to trip every now and then, but just don't stay there. Just get up, keep moving, and apply to the new thing, and you'll get a win eventually. But just when you fall, don't stay there. Don't go to sleep. Wake up
Yeah, but
and get
I
moving.
think we're all kind of like having the same kind of lesson
Yeah.
of like it's okay, like feel what it is, like get knocked down, be angry,
I think
like
that was like
you
one of the
know.
hardest things that I had to deal with, like I've always just wanted to win and I
Mm,
never wanted to take a L ever.
I hate it
But,
too.
yeah, and like I had to just come to like realization like you're gonna lose. It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
You'll just be a better person because you've learned from it. And then when that win comes, you know how to handle it and move
Exactly.
forward.
And you'll
So
appreciate it so much more too, you know?
absolutely, absolutely. So
I
yeah,
love
that's a
that.
lesson. That's a lesson.
Yes. Okay, let's get into vibe check. What are you currently vibing with, Mo?
A ton of movies.
Ooh, put me on.
I just peeped the Mortal Kombat movie. That came out yesterday. Well, Friday.
Yeah.
And so that movie was super, super dope. And yeah, I've been watching a lot of documentaries. I watched I forgot I had Amazon Prime, like the movies and stuff. So I was on there and I saw like this little like damn Sylvie's love, some like new age romantic movie. It was really
You'll
dope.
share it with us. We'll have to
Yeah,
put it on
yeah,
Twitter.
yeah. I'll give you the name. It's super dope. And I watched that Regina King movie one time in Miami. That movie was dope.
Did
So
you like
yeah,
it? It
I
was like
liked
kind
it.
of a slow burn. It was like, all right, what are we waiting for here? Like
Yeah,
we setting up all this shit. What's going on? Like it
I
was
mean,
cool to watch, but I didn't finish it, so I need to probably finish it.
yeah, I kind of appreciate those films. Like, obviously, it was a super like monumental moment with those four people, and so it's
Yeah.
like, of course, it's going to be like a slow burn. It's not going to be too fast. So I kind of appreciated that.
Hmm.
But I really liked it. I like Regina King's vision and how she went about it. So it was really dope, super dope.
Nice, nice. Okay, Naomi, what you vibing with?
Yes, the sun was out and I turned on Saweetie's Pretty Summer Playlist season 1. I felt like the hot girl summer was starting. It just put me in a really happy mood. Like
It
good
did
things are
pair
to come.
with the sun really well.
Yes, yes. Like I don't know. It just put me in a really good nostalgic place. So that's what I was vibing with this week.
Yeah, I didn't know what to expect when she put out the artwork, and I thought it was just like her saying these songs are slapping. And then when I looked at it, I was like, oh, the bitch got a song.
Yes,
She's on every song. There's
yes.
some cuts on there. I fuck with Sweetie, even though a lot of people
I
don't
know.
think she can rap.
Mhm.
Yeah, she's very beautiful though.
Yeah, I won't go into the other part, but go ahead.
Yes.
I
Okay.
respect.
I love it. I co-sign that. Well, I am vibing with this juice from Costco. Let's
Ooh.
see here. I'm trying to show it. So I love me some ginger shots. I'm always like juicing up ginger at the house, and we take shots of straight ginger, be
Ooh,
killing me.
yeah.
But I'd be like, I'm healthy. But this juice at Costco, it's organic pineapple, beet, and ginger juice. And what I've been doing is just throwing a couple of strawberries in the blender and then putting my sea moss in it. And then so it's not like a smoothie. I'm just putting it back into the juice and then just drinking that. And it is so good. So if you're, on your healthy tip, like I'm trying to be right now, definitely check it out at Costco. You get 2 of these big ass ones for $6.99 compared to the other pressed juices that be like one little thing for $6.99.
Mhm.
Costco got the always plugging. All
Damn, I
right.
gotta go
Well,
there too.
yeah, no, we about to go there after this. Oh yeah, you about to get your salmon, Mo?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, what
Yo,
time's dinner?
the salmon there is fine. Well, I got some things for you to get there too.
All
Costco got
right.
some things.
Right.
Yes, yes. All right, you guys, we are going to talk about podcast operations right after this break. Yes, yes. All right, you guys, we are back and we are here to talk about podcast operations. As I mentioned, we talked about starting your podcast and then we talked about interviewing and interviews during the podcast. Now we're going to just talk about like the nitty-gritty things that keep it's like the glue, the
Yeah.
foundation that keep podcasts together or that keep the glow up together, I should say.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the biggest thing, we'll start with show operations. So, structure. That's been a big thing within this show that we've tweaked a lot. But when you listen to podcasts, I know for me it's really important, like segments, especially those longer ones.
Mm.
Like sometimes it's like too much, but segments are an important thing about podcasts. Do you guys agree?
I totally agree. I think it's very important, kind of, highlights that each episode and how it's gonna lead towards. So I totally agree. I think segments are needed with podcasts, not just continuous talking about any and everything. Let's like get to something. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I was
it's
in,
hard. Yeah.
it gives your listeners like something to follow and be ready for, like to want to continue listening rather than not really knowing what to expect. I think it's fun sometimes to give them a storyline in it.
Yeah, and then structuring them to like as far as the length of the show. So when it came to structuring our segments, we worked it took us a long time to be like, all right, we're gonna dedicate this much time to this. And we never really followed that. It would be like, we're
No.
gonna do this for like 5 minutes, and then it would be 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So it took us a while to clean up, but I think segments are important. I know the read is a podcast I always mention because I feel like it it inspired me to start the podcast or to get into the podcast game. And their podcast is long. I'm talking about like 2 hours sometimes.
Yes, they're
Yeah.
hard.
And yeah, but they segment it. And, so sometimes I will listen to the ratchet stuff first and then I'll take a break and I know I'll be okay. It's kind of like a commercial break
Mhm.
or a
Mhm.
pause in the movie or whatever. And you don't feel like you're really missing too much. You feel like you're coming back, to something. So I love segments. I think they're great. Segmenting your show is really, really important. It gives it structure. Unless you're the 85 South show, I don't really think you can just have a podcast where you can just talk and not have any structure. Are there any other podcasts? Is Joe Budden's podcast
No,
structured?
his is structured. Yeah. But
Okay.
it falls off though too.
Okay.
But it's great though, because I don't know. I think segments are just good points to have within a podcast. Like you can have each segment, but you can also lend off of the segment a little bit and can extend a little longer. But as long as it kind of routes to the other point. But I think segments are needed to where it's like a stopping point to where you can get back on
Mhm.
a topic. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Joe
Brilliant
Budden,
Idiots does the same
Drink
thing.
Champs,
Yeah.
Drink
Oh,
Champs,
okay,
Drink
that's another one
Champs,
like 85
yeah,
South where you
Drink
just,
Champs. But
you
that's just,
know,
but that's just the topic of the show. It's just like Drink Champs, they're drinking, so obviously it's gonna be like, okay, they
that
got
makes
Yeah.
segments,
sense.
but
Yeah.
but
And
it's
and
gonna
Nori
wave off
also provides Nori is the structure of
comedy.
the show. Yeah. You know that
Exactly.
you're not
So
gonna get consistency, but you're gonna get wild ass questions.
yeah. So it's like when I go into
Yeah.
a podcast, I'm thinking of like, okay, Joe Budden's cool podcast. It has segments, or like even our podcast. We know we got segments within our podcast. But if I'm listening to a
Yes.
Drink Champs, they have segments, which is cool, but I know it's gonna go off
I love
every
that you're
episode.
saying that you're mentally
Mhm.
preparing for what you're about to listen to. And I think we all do the same thing when we listen to our favorite shows. So when thinking about doing your podcast, set it up for your listeners.
Mhm.
Mhm.
We do the same thing. We start off slow with lessons and things that we like to recommend, and then we hop straight in. And even with our interviews, we set that up. We don't just hop right in and be like, all right, tell us about your business now and how you blew
Right.
up. We get you to know the person. So when you are
Exactly.
thinking about structuring your podcast, whatever your topic is, whatever you're covering, make sure you're setting it up for the listener and providing them an experience. When you listen, how do you listen? Think about how
Yep.
you listen and then try to emulate that kind of experience with whatever your topic is. I think that's great.
Exactly.
Length of show is another one. I know that we used to go over an hour before, and now we are at this sweet spot. We've been going a little over with these episodes because we're providing so much information, but with these interviews, we've been hitting that 30, 35 minute, and I just feel so great about that.
Mm-hmm.
I know that, again, I listen to podcasts like The Read that are a little longer, and some, I'm sure you guys listen to podcasts that are a little longer, but you can break those up. How
Mhm.
important is length of podcast for shows for you guys?
I think it's important. It just depends on, again, it's the podcast you're listening to. It's like the Joe Budden podcast, for example. I don't mind listening to them for about an hour and a half, if not two, just because I know they joke around, they laugh a lot, they clown on each other a lot. That's what I like. And also they get into real serious stuff as well. So I'm okay with that. But there's certain podcasts where it's like, okay, I wish this was like maybe 30, 45 minutes, because literally I'm just drifting off and not listening to what you're saying because it's not appealing. So it's, I guess on average, I prefer a podcast to be 45 to an hour, if not hour and a half. But I know certain podcasts don't do that, and that's an exception for me. So I think it's mad important. I just don't want to hear an hour and a half, 2 hours of just back and forth laughing, inside jokes. We don't know what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
like you're not appealing to me because I have no idea. So that shit could be cutting out. Sorry for cursing. That stuff could be cutting out, like, less than whatever hour times you guys are giving us. So
yeah, I'm definitely a shorter podcast listener because I'll lose focus. I love that you guys can go back to it and it's exciting, but if it goes too long, I'm checked out. If I can't get in my car and make it to my destination on a decent drive and listen to the whole thing, more than likely, I'm probably not going to finish it.
Yeah. I think that for people, especially when you're starting out, and I hate to just, no, actually, I'm being real with you. You're not talking about shit.
Right.
Whatever you think that you're talking about for this hour, 2 hour episode that you think is so important, in all honesty, respectfully, don't nobody give a fuck about what the hell you're talking about. So cut that shit down. I'm a cuss-mo. Cut that shit down.
it's all good. It's all good.
And like really try your hardest to get down, because we had to work really hard. It was hard to get to where we are. And now that I listen back to some old episodes, it's hard because it's just, sometimes it's like, what are y'all talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Especially those shows that don't have guests or where they don't talk about a specific thing, when they're just talking, they just, all right, we're going to interview. This is the same kind of shit y'all always be talking about. Those podcasts are hard to build because everyone's doing it. And you guys are doing the same shit and you guys think it's so important. Try to niche it and then figure it out and then cut the length of the show. Make that shit 30 minutes. Because again, it's not that, I love you, but you're not that important.
Not as of yet, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, not
as of
yet, you know what I'm saying?
Yet.
Yeah, it's like, and plus, like, your producer has to go through all that and all that stuff, and like, it's like, man, dude, they're gonna listen to it, be like, I don't want to put this out, or I'm gonna have to cut this because it's dead air, or you guys are literally talking about nothing.
They be still putting that shit out, and you be listening to like, damn, didn't nobody tell? It's like when a rapper goes in and does crap. Like, didn't nobody tell you this shit's too long?
But again, most people try to reciprocate the podcast they listen to, and they immediately want to go into that. But literally, do you yourself feel you have an hour and a half, if not 2 hours of podcast? But seriously, like, do you seriously think out of all the podcasts that people listen to about the same topics that you say that we all hear about, that you're going to talk about with your input, like, do you think really people want to hear an hour and a half?
You know what? Ask someone. There we go. Don't think it. Don't evaluate, because people are narcissists. People are self-centered.
Yeah.
People think they are so important. Yes, Mo. People think they are so important, especially if they're doing a podcast. They like,
absolutely.
So
but
ask other people. Ask other people. That's my advice. Ask someone, is this too long? Don't think that it's not too long, or don't think it's, ask someone else, get an opinion.
Some people will cut out in the first 15 minutes.
I cut out in
Especially
5. If you're not getting to
or
the
even
point,
yeah. Some people will cut out instantly. So think about that.
God, I feel
Just think
so
about that.
throwback Casey and talking my shit, but I've just heard,
It's good
I
shit.
want to support so many people, but sometimes the podcast, I just like, I don't know where we're going and I don't know where you just took me and I don't know what we're talking about here. So I've got podcasts from other people that are, you're competing with so many podcasts.
You got to be different.
Yeah.
nail it.
Like we said in our past episode.
Absolutely. One other thing that's really important that really keeps our show together, and I've seen a lot of other shows they do this, but a show sheet. For us, we just do a Google Doc that keeps us organized, that keeps us together. Some people print it out, whatever works for you, but definitely make sure that you have this document that everyone is able to collaborate on and that everyone is checking. Naomi and I, what we really love about our digital show sheet is that sometimes we'll go off topic or we'll think something else because the guest will say something, so we'll go in and edit it, and Naomi and I can see when someone is saying something, or Naomi and I will have a note like, I'm not going to ask this, or go ahead and ask your other question, and we'll be able to do that through Google Docs. So for us, that's what's really worked. I know a lot of people like to have paper in their hands, which I do, but since we're not here together, it doesn't really help. And then this is also really great. I know I've been to McAnally podcast and they've printed out everything for the guests. So I know what's up. Like, this is what we're going to talk about. I think that's really, really great in preparing your guests to be on the show. Yeah. So and it's okay to go off topic too. Like I said, it's fine.
I feel like it's been our holy grail of keeping us on time, keeping our segments straight, and just keeping that flow of the show that we've been talking about this whole conversation.
And how we keep together too is a production meeting once a week. I think that was something new when we had a previous co-host, and we would try and do that. And Naomi and I really get it down. We talk once a week and we just go over the show, talk about the future. Just it can be 15 minutes.
Right.
It can be 10
sometimes
minutes.
It's really short and sometimes we lengthen it out.
But you guys have to connect. Whoever you are co-hosting the show with, you have to connect with them at least once a week. This isn't something that you can just wing. What else?
But if that works for you, cool. But
you'll hear it though on the show.
Yeah,
that's the thing. I think you can hear you hear so much with your ears when that's all you have, when it's you can hear the non-chemistry that's there sometimes.
The awkwardness. The dead air.
Yeah.
All that stuff. Like,
try and dedicate the 5 minutes if you can, at least, to communicating. Absolutely. And not texting, I think, is important.
Yeah.
And then sticking to a certain scheduled time each week. So before the pandemic, we had the studio with our producer one time a week for a certain time. We blocked that off. And that really helped us. Obviously, we knew we would go to the studio at this time. And then when it comes to booking guests, this is the time that we have to book. You're not giving the guests other options and going back and forth and being like, oh, can you do this time? Because when the pandemic did start, we were giving everyone grace and we were having all these different recording times and it was getting sloppy. Even though everyone was home, it kind of didn't matter. So I think that was where our mindset was. But now that we've kind of got a little structure now and the world is opening back, we're still recording remotely, which I'm fine with. But we still keep the same recording time every schedule. And also, I think it really helps because of our live stream.
Yep. Because people get to watch and tune in.
And I think, again, the most important part is you're not giving the guests too many options to it takes away the stress of trying to figure out a time that works for everyone.
I was going to say, and it gets chaotic because you have to respect that everybody does have a life. So even if it's you and your partner, you want to make sure that you guys don't stress each other out and always having to manage meeting at a certain time to do your interviews.
I think that's great. I love that. And thank you to all of our guests who do agree to do our shows on the weekends, because you guys have been so great. So thanks for that. Another big part of operating your podcast is getting the word out there. That's marketing and social media. I think this is obviously the big no one's really going to know about us besides our friends if we don't promote on
Mhm.
marketing and social media. What do you guys think about our marketing and social media, or what is
I
your
mean,
advice?
we're on social media anyway. You might as well just promote yourself that way. It's the new way to do things. Everybody's on their phones. Somehow, some way, everybody's on social media. So the
Yeah.
best way to promote whatever you have going on is through those that the internet waves, and it's a huge key thing now. You can't go out on the street and post a flyer or anything anymore. Everybody's on their phone, so you have to use social media. It's very, very important at this point.
Choose the platform that works for you
Mm.
and what you like doing. Like I'm on Instagram a lot, so Instagram works for me. And one thing that I think that really helped us is, and it's helping us, is the structure of marketing of the social media. Even before, we would always be like, what we're going to create X, Y, and Z assets every single week. We're going to have a picture, we're going to have a video, we're going to have this. So now we're so lucky because now you guys get to see us and we post these. I love these clips. I love sharing these because then people who don't watch us yet on YouTube get to see us a little more.
Mhm.
But we also throw in quotes, or we just have little things that we stick to that make the marketing a little better. And it's taken us a lot of time. We're always evolving. We're always like, okay, let's take away this part and then let's start doing this. So whatever it is that you feel comfortable building, use Canva. That's one big thing that's helped the glow up, and build continuous assets that you're going to post all the time that you can repurpose for each episode, so that you just, my whole thought process is whatever I can do to make work easier, the better. Because when you're working smarter and not harder, you're pumping out way more content. It's just, and then you have space to welcome in new ideas when you're not thinking so much and
Mhm.
so hard about the things you're currently doing. You should be able to do them with your eyes closed.
Yes.
Absolutely, for
Yes.
sure. And also, you could plan out those posts for your podcast too. So there's different outlets for that. So that can make it easier. You guys can literally plan out a whole month of content if you need to. So
Yeah. No,
yeah,
that's great. Thank you for bringing that up because I'll give you guys a
yeah,
huge gem that really helps the glow up, and that is the Later app. I pay for
yeah.
that app, and there's a free version of that, but I find it more useful for me to have it where we can schedule videos because I believe the free version you can't. But it's called the Later app. I tell all my friends about this app because a lot of people struggle with, put like, I gotta post. They
Mhm.
post on the fly versus exactly what Mo said. Plan out. I always suggest planning out a week and then exercise in 2 weeks and then go to a month. And
Yep.
you'll see how much free time you'll have. And then you'll be able to just engage and comment and reply versus thinking of the caption and doing all that stuff. But I love sitting down for 30 to 40 minutes and then just
Mhm.
posting hella and then leaving it. And
Yeah,
then you don't have to worry about it. So that's my personal scheduling app that I really like using. There's others out there, but Later is really, really great. And it's
I use
really
Later
helped
as
us.
well.
Yeah.
And it's very, very helpful. Literally sit down for 30 minutes, plan out your
Mhm.
week, and you're good. That's all you have to do. You don't even have to, you can create so much in a day and then post for the week, and then you're good. Like, it's
Yeah.
perfect. I love it. I love it.
Hootsuite too, I think
Yeah.
was really good for, I know it was really good for Facebook and Twitter. Buffer as well
Buffer.
was
That's
really
right.
good. All of those
So,
apps are really, really great. But I think Later for me, for Instagram, Later, well, I think no, Later you can do all the platforms. But for me, aesthetically and just the way it looks, Later is the best. And I use it more on my computer than I do on my phone.
and this is not sponsored by Later, but Later,
Come on.
what's good? How
Yeah.
are you?
Yes. Another little thing that you guys should think of in the future that I'll just briefly mention that really helps us with marketing and getting our name out there. And I know that Krista and Lindsay from the Almost 30 podcast brought this up, and that is connecting with your listeners via events. I know Naomi and we were so excited to get started last year on some events with the Business Babes and things like that. We were so hopeful and excited.
Yes.
But unfortunately, the pandemic happened and we weren't able to do that. But prior to that, we'd always have like our anniversary show or just little things like live events that we'd feature at. And that was just so fun because people at that event might not know who we were. And they'd be like, what the hell are they doing? This live podcast. And then they'd get to know us. Or people that already did know us, they'd get to see us and meet us and be a part of the experience. And that's just live recordings, but there's so many other live events you can do. That's just whatever your podcast is about. And when the world does open up and things are safe, try to figure out events that will focus in and highlight your relationships with your listeners and then also what your show is about. I can't wait till we get to do events again. That's going to be really, really exciting.
Yes.
One other thing that a lot of people should think about is relationship building within this team. I know that we're all friends. Well, I mean, I'm friends with Mo and I'm friends with Naomi, but I don't think they're friends with each other. But
No.
Y'all better laugh. People out there gonna think you guys really don't like
each other. Yeah, we don't like each other. We tolerate each other.
Right.
No.
Just joking.
We're key too. We are family, you know. We're family. And it's really important. This is a big lesson I had to learn. You really have to fuck with the people that you're working with on this weekly podcasting. Because if you don't, it's just
it'll suck.
Yeah.
It'll suck.
You're going to be stressed out. Talking from experience. It's just not going to work out, honestly. So if you are finding yourself in a situation where you just know this relationship isn't going to work, I definitely recommend having a talk and walking away if it doesn't work out. No hard feelings. You have to think about you're spending time and talking to these people a lot.
Every week.
Yeah. Yep. So, and we're still working on this. Like,
yeah.
Naomi and I hadn't seen each other in person for hella long. And now we're like, okay, we need to get together. Like, we need to work on our friendship.
Yep.
And not just this podcast.
Yeah.
I think we learned. Yeah. Go ahead.
I think it's important too because life happens. Like you're working on building something together. And when you have an actual relationship and the shitty part of life happens, you know that you can go to your partner or the other people that you're working with to really align with for a second, like, hey, this is what's happening. Like, I need your support on this end. Because if you don't have that, you are going to drag yourself through the mud.
And we've gone through that.
Yeah.
We've gone through that. For prime example, you know, we've gone through that. So yeah, it's a family at the end of the day. You got to have a solid family foundation.
Mm-hmm.
It is. And another relationship you have to focus on is like the partnerships with people outside of the podcast too. So I know he said those are really, really good friends of the podcast. And we're always trying to find ways to partner with them. As you can hear on the show, you've been hearing ads and stuff. Those are people we're partnering with. You have to think of those other relationships where you both will be able to benefit from each other. I think it's really important to not just focus in on your podcast and promoting it, but how can you cross promote with other podcasts and other businesses and other people and other brands and build something strong for your building community, basically. Mm-hmm. It's, you know, how can you build that? So think really hard about what other people are doing that align with what your show is about. If your show is talking about movies, then, you know, find people who also talk about movies, or find a local movie theater in Columbia City, you know, those kinds of things, and host a movie night. Do things like that.
Yeah.
There's so many things that we can do.
I agree. Yeah, partnerships is super dope and important and could help you out and them at the long run. So yeah, it's perfect.
With a genuine connection.
Yeah, absolutely.
And don't be afraid to reach out. I think that's been a common lesson that we've been sharing this month is don't be afraid to reach out to people. You know how many times I've been left on red? How many emails? Nobody replying or anything. It's okay. It is okay. You're gonna. I always say you're gonna be seen one day. They're gonna see you. you just have to keep going. You go, and then later on they're gonna want to link, So
Yeah,
don't even trip, and then you'll be the one where the ball is in your court, and you'll be able to decide.
Yes.
So
exactly. Been there.
What's
don't
meant
be
for you will be
afraid.
For
yours.
real.
Yeah,
For real.
have your media kit, all that, send the emails. Again, I got the media kit template for you guys. But just link with people, let people know who you are. They're going to see you. Keep putting yourself in their inbox. They're going to know who you are. Just don't be afraid to reach out. Don't think anyone's too big for you to holla at. I mean, a lot of times you're not going to get any response. But again, that builds your agility, your reach out agility. There we go. Got to work on that reach out agility. But
Absolutely.
relationships are important. The relationships in the podcast and the external podcast. I mean, the external relationships as well.
Yep.
Last thing is, don't be afraid to evolve or change.
Mhm.
I think that we've all evolved and changed a
Yes.
lot.
Had to adapt to a lot.
Absolutely.
Na-
Absolutely.
Naomi, I mean, both of you guys were both behind the mic. I
Mhm.
mean, not behind the mic. You guys were both behind the scenes.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And you guys have both evolved into being on the show. Talk about your experience, Naomi, of just coming on as an intern, doing social media, and then now you are the co-host of the podcast.
Yeah, so it was,
Tell the
I mean,
truth.
bye. So it just started off me being in the background and watching, just being there to be able to obtain content. And I was learning through the process. And I think it was just a random end of the year episode where we all decided to sit down on the mic and talk. And it was probably one of my first times talking. We had a family conversation of how the podcast was moving and how it was going. And you asked me to step up, which was really exciting because being in the room, observing the whole time, was really intriguing. And I was in a place where I think I had to get ready to speak. I think that end of the year episode went great, but like I had to learn through the process of coming from the background to being like more at the forefront and learning to speak and really be a part and own my position, which I think I do great. Mo.
Yes. No, Naomi, I'm so proud of you. You're doing amazing. And Mo, just from transitioning, he talked about it. I think it was the last episode, just from not talking as much to now just being very comfortable in front of the camera and the mic. I think, Mo, you've really evolved. And I think
Yeah.
for me, it was just welcoming you guys into this space. It was my evolution and change, and getting people to understand and see who actually runs the podcast, and how also you can grow. You don't just stay where you're at behind the scenes.
Right.
That the harder you, I mean, not the harder you work, because you guys didn't have to like put blood, sweat, and tears to get to where you are, but just stay down and learn, and you too can grow within your small business.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And I mean, it kind of helped with other ventures that I'm doing as well. So, being in the background, watching how the process went, and then just, jumping on an episode and then continuously jumping on episodes. And then with the podcast evolving, being the co-host of the podcast. And then, and then now jumping in from time to time speaking. Yeah, from a guy who just doesn't like to really talk as much, and being able to just say, okay, F it, I'm gonna just talk on the podcast, and like being real comfortable and not jittery or anything of that nature. It's a huge, huge like accomplishment for me personally, because I'm just a laid back, chill person who don't really talk as much. But when I get on here and I start talking, it's just comfortable and the conversation flows. So it's like,
I love that.
that evolve was just really, really amazing. So it's cool. It's not bad. So yeah, you just gotta evolve and and change when it comes to, and don't be afraid to. So
Yeah.
I was always hesitant to talk. I'm just like, what am I gonna talk about? Like, what
You're
am I gonna
doing
talk
so
about?
great, Mo. I just
But
know
then
from
like,
when we were
yeah,
in the studio to where we are now, you've really grown. I can see how comfortable you are. You're comfortable with the questions you're asking, and it's really great to watch both of you guys grow. And then again, you guys help me every week as well step my stuff up. And I think another thing too, when it comes to your podcast, don't be afraid to change things up. And we've talked about that like with segments and stuff, but just do what you got to do until you get it right. Don't think because you already have things the way they are, how your social media assets look, or how the structure of your show is, or even what the topic of your show is, or changing co-hosts. Don't be afraid to change or evolve until you get it right. Whoever is starting the show, until you feel right within yourself and you're like, this is, I think we're working towards what I originally wanted. Do what you need to do until you get it right, and don't be unapologetic about it. This is,
Absolutely.
you're building something that you're spending so much time doing, and there's room for everyone. There's a future that, I mean, we can see where podcasts are now.
Mhm.
You can
Yeah.
get it, and you just have to do what you can to get it right. And then I don't have it on our thing, but consistency. You have to be
Yeah.
consistent.
It's important.
All of this stuff that we shared this month, you have to just be very consistent. Don't give up. There's been so many times where Naomi and I we're just like, we're done. So
Yeah.
this is so hard, especially during last year. It was so hard.
Yeah,
It
it
was
was really
so
difficult.
hard.
We had to find a routine that really did work for us. And you have to be able to adapt with trying to figure that out. Like, know that it might not be easy, but you will figure it out. Be kind to yourself.
Yes. And just, there are
Just
moments where you just don't want to do something. This is, if you want to do a podcast, that this is, you have to do it and give yourself grace at times, but you also have to be real with yourself. You
Mhm.
can't get to somewhere just hopping and skipping and doing all
Right.
these shortcuts. You're not going to get to where you want to go. You have to work and show people that you're for real. That's what it is. You're convincing people that you're for real doing this. And by
absolutely.
not being consistent, you're showing them that it's not that important to you. So why is it going to be important to anyone else?
Mhm.
Absolutely. Totally agree with that. It's a
Do you guys
fact.
have any last little things you guys want to share as far as why we've been able to work really well, or how this podcast has been able to run itself?
Overall, just have fun. This is really fun. Like, don't think of it as a job. And you're having great conversations every week. And again, it goes with the people you're sitting with or who you're co-hosting with, or even if it's with yourself, just try to make things fun for your listeners and then fun for you to come in every week to get this done. Don't just think of it as like just a job. It's really fun. Just think of it as that, and then you should go far with this podcast, and just take our little gems from then on out, and but just overall have fun.
And I think we kind of already touched on it, but just because of the relationships that we have built, we've been able to have hard, honest conversations when it's needed. And I think that's helped us grow and helped us continue, because we're able to be like, hey, like, come on, like, are we going to do this or are we not? And like you said, there were times when we weren't sure what was going to happen. And it was those honest conversations that just kept propelling us forward. So just make that an importance of your podcast and your team of open, honest communication.
Absolutely. We hope you guys enjoyed all the fun, because we had really a lot of fun doing these episodes and helping you guys. And I hope that we are going to be able to continue providing you guys with more gems, not just the people we interview, but more podcast stuff. I got to shout out my homeboy Radio Kells. We got to get him on the podcast. He was working in radio, and he hosts the Truly Unruly podcast. And the pandemic started, and basically he created a podcasting company or something. We got to get him on the show. So, there's a lot of information out there. We hope we provided some that will help you out, and don't be afraid to hit us up as well. Well, you guys, that was great fun with podcast month. We'll be back to interviews next month. But if there are topics or things that you've seen us do that you guys want us to cover, don't be afraid to hit us up. You can hit us up in our DMs. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud. Follow us at the Globecast. Watch us on
Yeah.
YouTube.
Do
And
that.
Yes.
sign up for our spotlights. We
Our
want
email
to shine
list.
some light on y'all. And
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.